Welcome back. I want to dedicate this video to my beautiful friend, Rachel. You know who you are. All right, Rach, and everyone else, are you ready for this one? I don't know why I'm laughing again. Edmund Emil Kemper. Ed Kemper. Born 18th of December 1948. He's currently 71 years old. He's still with us, despite 2 failed suicide attempts and asking the judge for the death penalty. They wouldn't give it to him. Poor Ed. Anyway, he's been given 7 life sentences. And to say Ed had mummy issues is an understatement, but I'll go into that in a minute. So his mother would regularly berate him and say, you know, no one's ever going to love you. You're a freak, because Ed was, I think at 15, he was already 6'4". He is a huge guy. So she thought he was going to kill her and his 2 sisters. So she kept him locked in a basement to go to sleep. Then they could all sleep peacefully at night, knowing Ed wasn't going to come in and kill them. Now, he didn't get on with his mother, excuse me, and he went to live with his father, who had remarried and started a new family, and he didn't want Ed either. So he was sent to live with his grandparents. This was at the age of 21. So he got into an argument with his grandmother, and he blew her head off with a shotgun, and then blew his grandfather away with a shotgun as well. He confessed to police and was actually sent to an asylum for the criminally insane. However, they released him on his 21st birthday back into the care of mother. And yeah, it's a bit of an underlying issue in this story of Ed. When he was in the asylum for the criminally insane, they actually tested his IQ, and it came back at 145. Now, to put that into perspective, the average IQ is 100, and Einstein's was 160. So Ed was a very, very smart guy. He could have applied himself to anything, but he decided that serial killing was going to be for him. So, God. Anyway, so once he was released, he then went on his crazy serial killing spree. He used to pick up hitchhikers and murder them and rape them once they were dead. So necrophilia again. And then he'd dismember them. So his first 2 victims were Anita Lucchesa and Mary Ann Pesky. So he initially said that he was just going to rape them, but panicked and stabbed them to death and strangled them, then had sex with their corpses, then dismembered them, put them in plastic bags, and threw them into a ravine, a nearby ravine. Whilst the dismembered bodies were in the boot of his car, he was actually pulled over by the police, and because he had a broken taillight, and the police didn't check the car, or they would have found 2 dismembered young girls in there. His next victim was a 15-year-old Korean dancer called Aoki Koo. Now, when he was in the car with Aoko, I think that's how you say it, he actually locked himself out of the car. I don't know what he was doing out of the car, but she was locked inside the car. And Ed managed to talk his way back into the car. He then murdered her and then raped her corpse. This bit of a trend here. The serial killers I tend to cover, they're all into necrophilia. What's all that about? Ugh. Anyway, so he ran out of money when he was on his serial killing spree, and he moved home with mother. This is where it all gets really crazy. Now, his mother worked on a university campus in Santa Cruz in California, and Ed went on to murder another 3 girls whilst he was living with mother. And then the inevitable happened, which I will get to in a second. But one of the victims that he dismembered, he actually decapitated them. So he cut the head off and he buried it in his mum's backyard. So with the face up. So he said it was facing his mum's bedroom window, and then Ed said then somebody would always look up to her. Like, he really, really hated his mother. Then the inevitable happened. He went at his mum with a claw hammer in her sleep and obviously killed her. He then decapitated her. He raped the head of his mother. He then put her on a shelf, just the head, and used her as a dartboard. I think Edmund's got issues. Fucking dartboard. Like, what? You couldn't make this up. Honestly, you couldn't make it up. But that's what he did with Mummy Dearest. He also cut out her tongue and her larynx. Now, in America, they've got these garbage disposals in the sink that sort of mince things up. So he put her tongue and her larynx in the garbage disposal to try and mince them. But her larynx actually shot back up at him. And he later said it was actually quite ironic because all she ever did was berate and belittle him. And her larynx, you know, jumped back up into his face. It's not funny, but you just couldn't write this stuff. He ended up calling the police. No, before he called the police, he invited his mum's best friend over. Then he killed her and then he stole her car. And then he was driving around and he didn't know what to do with himself. So he just thought, I'm done. I'm just going to ring the police and confess. So he rang the police and the police didn't believe him. They were just like, go away, you nutter. You haven't killed all these people. And he was like, no, I have. And then he started going into details about the crimes. And then they started taking him a bit more seriously. And they actually took him into custody. Now, as I said earlier, at his trial, he begged the judge and jury for the death penalty, and they said no. They just gave him 7 life sentences, and he ended up in... It was a California medical institution for the criminally insane as well. And Charles Manson, who's recently died, was also in there with Ed. Now, Ed, he freely gives interviews to reporters and to the police, and the FBI actually use him to help profile serial killers. And he's been a model prisoner ever since he's been in there, and narrated over 5,000 books, audio books for the blind. Sorry, it's one of those days today. So, yeah, good on you, Ed. He's still with us, and that is the story of Ed Kemper. I hope you enjoyed it. Stay safe, stay away from Ed Kempers, and I'll see you soon. Bye.